Welcome to the Lowdown Podcast, the show where we dive deep into the topics that directly impact the evolving originator. I'm your host, Connor Bartley. Bam! And joining me today is a guest with an incredible story of growth and impact within the mortgage industry. She's a wife and proud mom of two boys, originally from Indiana, and started her career as an associate behavior analyst before making the leap into mortgage banking. Now, in just a few years, she's built a reputation as one of the top performers in the country. Recognized as one of National Mortgage Professional Magazine's 40 Under 40 in 2023, and named by Mortgage Executive Magazine as a top 1% mortgage originator in America for both 23 and 24th. She's not only driving results, but also balancing it with family and purpose. Paige Ringkamp, welcome to the Lowdown.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Paige. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm very excited for the conversation. I know you'll bring a ton of value to this audience of evolving originators. And so I just want to jump right into it if it's okay with you. This industry rarely is the chosen path for folks. Like I mentioned before, you were doing a totally and entirely different career that has nothing to do with mortgage, like an associate behavior analyst. I'd love to learn a little bit more about what that is. But how did you get started in the business?
Yeah, so I was a special ed teacher initially, then got my master's in behavior analysis, which was still in the special ed realm. And I was doing that, and my husband got into real estate, and we didn't have any kids yet. And I kind of just loved seeing what he was doing and the potential there. And so I kind of was like, hey, I think I could do something like this. And I feel like I need to do it now before we have kids to feed, you know? So I finished the school year, and he was a realtor at the time. And so we were like, we had just gotten married. So we're like, we probably shouldn't work together like day one of our. And we've been told by other people that had worked side by side that like it can be tough on your marriage. And we're like, well, we're new to this marriage thing, so we better find something that's similar. Mortgages were kind of like the next best thing. I don't mind numbers. I love working with people, and so I was kind of like, all right, I'll give it a shot.
That's great. And so, when did you know that after being in the business that this was a career for you? That this was no longer just a job that you're given a shot, but this was something that you really wanted to pour into?
I mean, after my first year, when I learned that I could grow by interacting with people and being social, I was like, this is perfect. My perfect day is like coffee, a lunch with somebody, a happy hour with somebody, and then maybe catch up on email. That would be my perfect day. Obviously, we can't do it like that every day, but I had been putting in the work like we all do in the beginning, and it finally started to show returns. And I would say probably after about a year of being like, okay, I've been, prospecting, I've been tracking my numbers, I'm finally seeing a return. Like I could see this turning into something. And I just fell in love with the people that I worked with and knew that I could never go back.
Yeah. So I love what you just said there about, constantly prospecting and tracking your numbers, which I think is a really important thing that I kind of want to focus on for a second, because not everybody knows to do that. Not everybody does that really well. What were some of the things that you were tracking early on and even still today to know that you're headed in the right direction and towards your goals?
Yeah. So I was fortunate with the behavior analyst background because we never made a decision without data behind it. And so when I came into this industry, I was kind of like, so wait, we're just kind of like throwing in a wide net and seeing what happens. There's strategy there too. But so we were tracking our meetings. I was not tracking calls actually at the time. I was tracking my meetings and how many referrals turn into applications, and applications into contracts, and then contracts into closings. Because I wanted to learn I knew I needed to work on my converting my referrals, but I also wanted to look at true contracts received versus closing, because of inspections, appraisals that don't come through, whatever it may be. I needed to learn that fallout rate so I could work backwards.
That's great. Yeah. So are you still tracking those same numbers today, or have you expanded that or even
today?
It up?
No, that's a good question. So today I'm tracking my contacts to referral partners. I do still track my meetings or appointments with them. And then I'm tracking my referrals, applications, locks, and close.
Yeah. I love that. I mean, if you're not tracking then you don't know what you're doing, right? You got to know
Mm-hmm.
your numbers to know how to work backwards and say back in and go, hey, I want to do X amount of loans this year. I need Y amount of meetings or whatever to get there. So,
Yeah. Well, and it takes the emotion out of it when our industry, it ebbs and flows naturally. Plus, it's such a relationship industry that, you can really spiral quickly if you have a couple slow months. Like, did I upset everyone? Am I not as good as I thought I was? And so for me, it was very important to focus on the data. And if I felt slow, then I would go back to the numbers. Like, am I really slowing down? Or have I just had a couple rough, go arounds and now because then the numbers support what's actually happening and it could help me stay focused on what I need to be doing as opposed to the what ifs. Because, we
yeah.
could play that game all day long with how volatile our industry is. So,
Yeah, I think that's extremely wise. I mean, in 2022, of course, the market changed. And what that really set off for a lot of people was panic and then a scramble to find the answer, right? What's the answer? How can I get a shortcut? How can I fix this problem as fast as possible? And what you saw a lot of talk about from some of the more successful originators in the business was just a focus on activity and making sure that they were doing the daily actions that drove the business. And no surprise here, but those people are still, at the top of the business right now
yeah.
because they stuck with the fundamentals that got them there, and they knew their numbers and they knew what they needed to do to execute. And if you needed to ramp it up, you just did more of those things. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. And just the constant return, like assessing the return of your efforts. So, like, not just, I think we've gotten pretty good about, like, okay, how are we developing our calendar? Are we spending our time doing the right things? But then also, like, our mental energy.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about that enough. I feel like my leadership coach does a great job of being like, is there ROI for this mental energy you're giving it? And if there is it enough? Is it worth it? And so just in life, I feel like that's healthy for us to assess because we can get so caught up on things where it's like, what's the end game here? What's the end goal? And so everything from losing a deal and how much mental energy we use on that deal. And then also, sorry, I did not put my phone on do not disturb, and I just got a text message. Okay. So everything from losing a deal and trying not to spiral in terms of, okay, did I mess up my script? Did I rub them the wrong way? Should I have quoted it differently? Like at the end of the day, I think it's great to look in the mirror and self-assess, but then we got to move on and go to the next call, make another call.
Yeah. So what now what, right?
Yeah.
So I guess just to transition to something different, I'm curious. I mean, you fund a lot of loans, you touch a lot of families and help a lot of people in your community. Is there a specific borrower or just like loan that really stands out to you that made a huge impact on you along the way?
I can't say one specific. I mean, I'm fortunate to work with some really talented team members that have gotten a lot of really hard loans done. I mean, the classic, like we save it when somebody else says they can't do it. And we work to find a way to make it happen. Like, all of those are really impactful because those families are truly, truly grateful. We're a commodity. And so it's not that every borrower is like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I had one client that moved here from another country and had been working here for quite a few years, and that was her goal, was to be a homeowner, the typical American dream, if you will. And so that was a really rewarding transaction because she and her husband and her kids were so grateful. They surprised the kids. They never told them that they were closing, and they surprised them the day of closing and let them pick out their rooms. And it was really neat. That's not an everyday that you get to experience that big of a purchase for someone. But on the contrary, what I've really enjoyed is the investment side. So my husband and I invest in real estate, and we actually teach classes to our referral partners about investing. And so we've been able to help a lot of investors, either get their portfolio started or grow their portfolio, and that's been really rewarding in a completely different way as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because I love that approach, the education approach to things. I mean, how are you organizing those events? Is this over lunch? Is this a webinar? And how are you pulling people together? What's been the response? Like, I want to know everything about it.
So my husband does not love speaking in front of people.
Okay.
So I really have to like pull him in for specific things. But there's a group, I usually do it in a group. So like I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of I work out of a couple different offices basically. And so our USA Mortgage office has a big training room. And so I just shot a message out to a bunch of agents that I know and was like, hey, would you be interested in this? And either on the side of being more confident working with your investors as clients and or investing yourself. And so we had, I don't know, 20 people show up with a lot of really good questions. A lot of them brought their spouses, and we just did like a 10 to noon in the classroom and ran through, how we got started, what we should not have done, what we don't recommend doing, and what we've learned along the way, just to try to help prevent people from making the same mistakes. But then we also dove into kind of like a workshop setup to where we shared, here's what we take to a banker, because when you do the commercial financing versus financing with me, we talked about both of those things.
Okay.
And so my husband does a lot of anytime that he invests in real estate, it's through usually commercial lending. So he dove into, here's what I present to the banker. Here's what you need to know about the property. Here's the data you're going to need to be able to present the deal to them. And we explained that's more of a relational transaction in terms of it's not Fannie and Freddie choosing. It's truly that bank choosing if they're going to lend you and what those terms look like. So that was just really fun to see, kind of teach them, let me show you what Fannie and Freddie can do for a 30-year fixed and why this makes sense for you. And then why these scenarios make sense. So it was a lot of fun. It was very interactive.
Yeah. And so as your business has grown, has some of your business development evolved more towards kind of the one-to-many approach, or are you still very kind of one-on-one focused?
That's a good question. I do both. So my current referral partners, it's a lot of one-on-one. Not that they're not invited to the group ones. The group ones just aren't nearly as often. But when I want to get in front of maybe a group of people that I have a relationship with, but there's not a we're not consistently doing business, or I need to find a new way to bring them value and I think they could benefit from it. That's when we kind of go to okay, what kind of class could we teach? What kind of mastermind could we do to just try to get in front of them again and bring them value in ways that are other than would you like a listing flyer?
Yes. So I want anyone who's listening to this to hear that, because sometimes you have to manufacture a reason, right? You can't just keep showing up with, how's it going? I'm checking in. What's going on? Do you need a flyer, right? Bringing real value is incredibly important. If you don't mind sharing, what have been some of the topics of the classes that you have taught?
Yeah, so we've done a lot of the, me and some of my teammates have done Mortgage 101 or Stump an Underwriter. We bring an appraisal panel in. Okay. Those mortgage specific ones have been great. But the most recent one that I was referring to is the one that I made my husband come in and talk about. Okay, how can we help your buyers become real estate investors, and how can we help you become real estate investors? Because, as realtors are 1099, there's a lot of tax benefits to owning real estate, and some of them don't even know that yet. And so just hashing through that and what kind of write-offs you can get and how you can appreciate properties and all the different things that if you don't know what you don't know. And so we wanted it to also be a safe place to ask questions because, I'm a part of an investment club where we're talking high level stuff, and that's great. But then you have a group of people that are like, okay, I want to get started, but where do I begin? And so we did kind of like a 101, real estate investing 101, financing through the residential side, financing through the commercial side. Who manages the property? What do you run into? What about flipping and all the different things? It can be overwhelming, and in a room full of investors, I think it's hard for people to truly ask the questions. And so we've done both, I guess, of real estate investing 101, and then also kind of what are some other ways that we can reduce our tax liabilities and increase our portfolio without using our own funds and all that fun stuff.
Yeah. So as business grows, there often becomes a need to, most loan officers reach capacity, individual capacity, the things that they can do on their own. The funny thing about the mortgage business is when you get started, you start at zero, you grow everything by yourself, and then it's I can't do anymore. So what does your team look like today, and how has that been helpful to you kind of getting beyond those ceiling moments?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because scaling is, everyone does it differently in this industry, because we're not corporate, and I mean, we are, but we're not,
Yeah.
We're all entrepreneurial, and so we all do it our own way. And so I struggled to figure out what my cadence looked like. But right now I am partners with somebody, and we run a branch. And within that branch, we have loan officers. But for me and my personal production, it's me. And then I have what we call a loan partner. He can do anything and everything that I can do. And then so he and I are the only ones that communicate with the borrower. That's always been really important to me. Not that if you have 3 people communicating, that's the end of the world. The communication piece is the most important piece with the client. And so I try to keep that just between us two. And because there's a lot of importance on how people interact with your client. And so, you can only train so many people to handle situations the way that you want them handled. So his name is Nick. He's phenomenal. He's been with me for years. And I think I told you I just came back from maternity leave. And so he handled my business for 8 weeks straight. And everyone had nothing but good things to say about him.
Nick.
So that's huge. Yeah, yeah. We all need a Nick. He's phenomenal. So, and then he passes it off to processing and underwriting. And then it comes back and he's the one that goes back to the client. So my role is strictly to hunt at this point. It hasn't always been that way. I was very involved for quite some time, as are most loan officers, like you said, because you build it on your own. But very aware of my strengths and weaknesses. Paid a lot of coaches to help me come to terms with that too. And so I don't need to be in the weeds. It's better that I'm not. And Nick is great at that.
Yeah. Well, I love that you've brought up coaching a couple of times and just that investment in yourself. And I find that that's usually kind of a turning point for a lot of originators where they kind of realize, hey, there's another gear I can get to if I just sort of follow some best practices and good advice. Because a lot of us are just trying to figure it out on our own.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major flaws of the mortgage industry is that there's not a lot of guidance for free. There's not a lot of corporately provided guidance. It's just sort of like, all right, if you do well enough, then you'll reach a point where you'll try to find it on your own, and then
right,
you'll figure it out. So
yeah, you're exactly right.
What would you say you love about this business? Like, what is it that you just love about what you do?
I love that every day is different, and I love getting to work with people, both the agents, the clients, my team. And I love that you can truly be an entrepreneur within it. You can build your business however you prefer, and you can grow as big as you want. You can maintain a certain level. Obviously, helping people obtain homeownership is an awesome thing to be able to do. But outside of that, there's so many other possibilities and ways you can grow that I just love that I can constantly keep my wheels turning, and I can reassess, and we can pivot if we need to. And every day is different. Yeah. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way.
Sure, there's definitely a lot of variety to it.
Yeah.
What would you say? What are you working on right now for the future? What are some of the things that you see are going to be important for you down the road?
Yeah. So taking that maternity leave opened our eyes to the fact that our communication is not as efficient as we would like it to be. So a lot of my agents will come to me and I'm in a meeting. So then an hour later, I get back to them and I say, hey, oh, look, I'll get you that payment ran. Then I call my loan partner, Nick. Then Nick runs the payment. Then he gives me the answer. Then I get it back to the client or the agent. And so by removing someone from that chain, it just helped things be more fluid. So we're working on a combined team phone where we can text and see each other's text messages, where we can see the phone calls. It's a little bit scary because I need to relinquish full control of my phone number, but it's needed. I don't want people to have to wait. Just like I'm on this podcast, whoever is calling me right now is going to have to wait. And we live in a world of go, 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 especially with those online lenders. And so I've got to find a way for our team to be more accessible. And so we're in the thick of working through that.
Yeah. And are you just kind of professionally, career-wise, are you looking to branch out into other things? I know you've gotten coaching. Are you looking to do coaching yourself? Or you have any other big kind of professional ambitions?
That's a good question. I've thought about it and I've worked through some of that with my coach. I don't know. I love pouring into people and I love helping people. Again, it goes back to the ROI on my time. I think if somebody came up to me and were like, hey, I'd love for you to coach me. And I have coached one of my realtors before, just get some systems in place. And that was awesome. But I don't know, maybe. It's not on my 2026 list.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not on my 2026 list, but I think it would be rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean, because with your background, with the education piece and everything, and I just figured it might be a natural pairing at some point. So, well, listen, you've given a ton of great, insight, perspective, and everything. I want to give you one opportunity here before we wrap up. Is there anything that you were hoping to be able to say today, or any like parting, takeaways that you'd love to share with the audience that they might find helpful?
I think, going back to your initial, who your audience is, they're the loan officers that are mainly trying to grow and get to that next level. If you can invest in coaching, I highly recommend it. Or just if you're not tracking your numbers, start there. And I don't recommend. I should clarify. I've had coaches that just hold me accountable to certain activities, and then I've had coaches that are truly helping me change my perspective and look at things differently, and they're telling me what podcasts to listen to, what books to read. Like, it's more than just did you make your calls? That's not worth the money. You can have a friend ask you that, and you can hold accountability partnerships that way. But yeah, I would recommend finding a coach that truly pours into you and can help you expand your mindset, especially because we work by ourselves a lot of the time. We get stuck in our own ways. And so just constantly being exposed to things outside of your four walls is helpful.
Yeah. Any book recommendations?
Traction, I love. I loved Grit. Our team just finished, the 4-Hour Work Week is good. That helps you reassess your time.
Okay.
In a bizarre way. Atomic Habits is good. Nothing like mind blowing. Nothing you haven't heard of before, but
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I've read one of the 4 that you mentioned.
Okay.
I've read Atomic Habits, but
yeah.
I know Traction. I've heard great things about it as well from others. So now I know what to buy next. So
yeah,
I appreciate that. Well, and Traction, just for the audience's sake, that's more about like building structure in your business and kind of, okay, yeah. So
yeah, but I just feel like if there's people that are listening that maybe need to hire, like they're not sure when to hire that person, or even how to hire a person, or what that structure should be, or what that structure should look like, it's a helpful book.
Perfect. Well, Paige, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was great having you. High five. And,
yes, high five.
Yeah, and thanks for joining today.
No problem. Have a good one. Thanks, Connor.
You bet.
All right.